Welcome everyone to another episode of the Camper Report. Matter of fact, I have literally rescheduled this show so many times. Today was kind of one of those days where you're busy watching the combine, and I was like, okay, so at first I wanted to do the show in the morning, and then I was like, I need to probably wait until because this is going to be primarily a quarterback show. Wait until the quarterbacks have their workouts at the combine. That was very intriguing. 4 o'clock comes around. I'm like, I don't know. I when I'm watching these players, especially quarterbacks, I get obsessed. Like, I mean obsessed with their film. And so I just sometimes, I don't know, it's weird. I just sometimes will spend too long watching their film, and then I'm like, oh crap, it's 4:30. I was supposed to go live. So, anyways, I decided to go live. Now I'm just posting this real quick on my YouTube channel, sharing it on my YouTube channel. But you guys, so you can call in. Link in the description. I'm actually gonna put this up here. So you guys can call in on my number, or you can call in on StreamYard, which is in the description. Just go down to the description. It's in on StreamYard. And I'm quickly posting the call in link because I want to have some discussions. As 49ers fans, I want to know, who are some standouts that stood out to you guys in the draft or in the combine, or maybe you want to see the 49ers draft? I want to know all of these things. So, let's see here. I'm just quickly posting the call-in link on my channel. Okay, we got it. Why did I just say that? And so, yeah, if you want to call in about that, I'm mainly going to be talking about the top 5 quarterbacks in this draft. I didn't watch enough of the ground. I mainly watched the quarterback workout, which lasted about 2 hours. So I haven't really seen enough of the other player. Like I can name some cornerbacks that I saw run yesterday. I can name a few players that I've kept an eye out for in the combine. But as far as like I know in the description it did say like, oh, I'll be breaking out the standouts for the combine so far. I have a few standouts, but I didn't watch it closely enough to where I haven't watched it closely enough to where I could give you a definitive answer of all the standouts. Now, in a few weeks, I will be doing like a draft, a mock draft. So probably after, I'd say probably after after it, maybe in 2 weeks, I'll be doing my first mock, the top 15. And then after the free agency passes, I'll be doing my second mock draft. Because the thing with these top 5 quarterbacks is I look at the teams in the top 10, and I can name them to you right now. You have the Bears, you have the Texans, you have I'm just trying to think because it's kind of hard to know it off of my head. I have the list right here. Let me just get, okay. So, sorry guys. Top 10. I'm just trying to think where I left those quarterbacks. I'm just trying to get the draft order. I believe it's Bears, Texans, Cardinals. I want to say is Colts next after that, then Seahawks, then Lions. Okay, I'm on the right track. Raiders, then Falcons, Panthers. Yeah, Falcons and Panthers. So Falcons are at 8, Panthers are at 9. Number 10, I believe I know Tennessee is at 11. Number 10, I want to look that up as well. Let me look up first round draft order. First round. Forgive me, guys. Get in the chat. Get in the stream. First round draft order. I probably, okay, 23. Okay, here we go. Yeah, I have it. So yeah, we have oh my gosh. What the heck? This is annoying. ESPN, they have like these. Okay, here we go. So we have Bears, Houston Texans. Forgive me there, guys. Bears, Houston Texans, Arizona Cardinals, Indianapolis Colts, Seattle Seahawks, Detroit Lions, Las Vegas Raiders, Atlanta Falcons, Carolina Panthers, Philadelphia Eagles. That's the one I was missing. Tennessee Titans, Houston Texans again, New York Jets, New England Patriots, Green Bay. That's the top 15. I think there's like 7 teams in the top 10 that all could be in the running for a quarterback. And that's what makes this draft so intriguing because it's like the 49 like not the 49ers, like there could be a lot of action in the top 10. There could be trades. There could be like teams trading up. There could be teams trading down for quarterbacks. There's going to be a lot of action. So let's get right into it. My first really topic was where will these quarterbacks go in the NFL draft? Now let me just quickly call. Okay. So where will these quarterbacks go in the NFL draft? And we have to start with, I guess, Bryce Young. Bryce Young, to me, his height is a big knock on him. But if you look, I was watching film from LSU. And, when you're playing at Alabama, you are facing the biggest players in college football because you're playing in the SEC. Alabama's offensive line, biggest offensive line in college football. You're playing basically against the best of the best players in college football. You're playing against or you're getting blocked. Like the offensive linemen blocking for you are some of the biggest players in college football. So, and in this LSU game in particular, he was making throws over the middle perfectly fine. So I don't care if he's 5'10, 5'11. I think Bryce Young still has more than enough experience to go next level. And because he started 2 years, I also think he has the measurables to go next level. He didn't actually throw today at the combine, but he's going to have his own pro day, I believe, in a few weeks. So out for that. That should tell a lot. But Bryce Young, even though he's short, my argument to that is he played in the number 1 conference in college football. He played against the best players in the nation in college football. And he was still perfectly accurate over the middle. And the thing that I love about him the most is he has 2 years of experience, great stats, doesn't seem to turn the ball over a lot, is mobile, but not like super mobile. Like he can make there's a difference between mobility, and this is why I think him and Anthony Richardson are a lot different. I think Anthony Richardson is mobile in a way of when he feels pressure, when Anthony Richardson from Florida feels pressure around him, okay? Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, instead of extending the play and trying to look downfield for another pass, Bryce Young tends to that's what Anthony Richardson does. Anthony Richardson, when he gets under pressure, he tends to just tuck his head and run. He doesn't look downfield for a pass. But Bryce Young, the thing that I love about him the most is when he gets under pressure, he doesn't automatically tuck his head down and run. He extends the play, scrambles out, extends the play, makes beautiful passes. In particular, this play against LSU, I believe I have it. No, I don't. Okay. Well, there was this play against LSU, and it was like at the LSU's 30-yard line, and Bryce Young rolls out, and there's a guy downfield, and he just flicks it 20 yards downfield, and it's a touchdown. So Bryce Young has the arm strength, the measure. I think even though his height is a big knock, I think There's arguments to that. I don't necessarily agree with his height is an issue. I don't agree with that. So I think he has all the arm talent. He's very accurate, takes care of the ball, has the experience. And frankly, I think he's the most pro-ready quarterback. Let me, you know, let me give some similarities and differences to him and Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson, if you guys don't know, and I'm going to actually do Anthony Richardson versus Cj Stroud because that's very interesting. But Anthony Richardson, if you don't know, is a quarterback that has kind of been blowing up the last few weeks at Florida. And I think although Anthony Richardson is really good, Anthony Richardson only started 14, 15 games. Has over this last year had barely over a 50% completion rate, and his mechanics are pretty bad. What Anthony Richardson will do is when he steps back to throw, his arm has when he gets into his drop, right? His arm has a lot more twerk in it, but his legs and his arm aren't in sync when he's throwing the football. So it's his legs are doing one thing. My Lord, this chair is squeaky. Gosh, I need to get a new chair. His legs are doing one thing and his arm is doing another thing. So when he throws it, he tends to put a little bit more upper body twerk on it, and his arm and legs aren't in sync. And so that creates a lot of inaccuracy issues. I believe with Bryce Young, it's different. I think his mechanics are a lot better, his accuracy is a lot better, and he's a lot more seasoned. So that's the difference between him and Anthony Richardson. I will say, though, Anthony Richardson, we'll get into him later, is very intriguing. So, without much further ado, where will Bryce Young go? I think Bryce Young goes to the Houston Texans. I think if you're D'Amico Ryans, yes, you have cap space. But right now, no veteran quarterback in free agency is going to want to sign there. So I think you have no choice. I think you go with Bryce Young. He's to most people, he's a surefire prospect. And it should be a gift because it's the Bears probably won't draft a quarterback number one pick. So you have your pick of the litter. And I think Bryce Young is really the one where you can't go wrong on that pick. You're in the second pick. And I think the Texans are the perfect team that will get Bryce Young. It also gives you time because you're with a rookie quarterback. So I think D'Amico Ryans, you start off your tenure with the Texans, you make a pick that nobody is going to hate on, and you pick Bryce Young. I think that's what it is. Now let's get on to the next topic. I probably ranted a little bit there. Remember, guys, call in if you want to. Anthony Richardson versus Cj Stroud. Now, this one's kind of a huge, I think the reason why I have both of these guys combined, I'm scouting each of the top 5 quarterbacks. So we have Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, Cj Stroud, Will Levis, Hendon Hooker, right? But I put Anthony Richardson and Cj Stroud in the same topic because I think in my list, it would go Bryce Young 1, Cj Stroud number 2, Anthony Richardson number 3. And to all the people that are coming into the comments, I apologize. I rescheduled this show so many times. I really didn't even advertise it that much. So whatever, you guys. So I will do better at that next time. But I needed to go live. So whether there are people in here or not, I need to pump out that content. But back to Anthony Richardson versus Cj Stroud. The big difference, I think, with these two, and again, there were quarterbacks at the combine today that the combine, it goes from Thursday to Monday afternoon, I think. No, Thursday to Sunday afternoon. The combine goes from Thursday, to Sunday. Sorry, guys. The combine goes from Thursday to Sunday afternoon, and basically the quarterbacks were throwing today, doing all of their drills today and whatever. And I think my big thing with Anthony Richardson is very athletic. This guy broke a record for the high jump. So at the combine, they do, as everyone knows, they do the high jump. And Anthony Richardson broke a record for the high jump, and his 40-yard dash was a 4.439, I think, 4.39, 40-yard dash. Really good for a quarterback. His size. This guy is 6'5". I think he's like 235, something like that. For his size, a 4.39, he had the fastest 40 time out of any quarterback in the NFL. So very impressive in this year's draft. Very impressive for somebody his size. So I think the tangibles for tangibles for Anthony Richardson are there. I think he has size, athleticism, everything else. But then when they get to like some of the throwing drills, I think both of these guys had great combines. But I think Cj Stroud, when they got to the throwing drills, is a much better thrower. I think Anthony Richardson has more of the tangibles, like athletic tangibles. But I would think that, I think Cj Stroud is a lot better of a pure thrower. When they got up to the throwing drills in general, I'm just quickly looking at my notes here because I was taking a lot of notes in this draft. I think when they got up to the throwing drills, I think all of Cj Stroud's throws were on time. They were he would set his feet and transfer his weight and throw a perfect bullet. That's what you want. There were no inaccurate passes, especially in the red zone. Like they were doing this red zone drill. And none of Cj Stroud's passes were floaters. They were like with perfect touch every time. So I'm not saying Cj Stroud is going to be is going to be a Hall of Famer one day, but man, he has talent. Man, he has talent at throwing the football. He also has a great arm. I mean, they were doing deep ball accuracy. Now, Anthony Richardson, really, really good arm. Really, really good deep ball, which I think you guys all know if you have watched Anthony Richardson. You guys all know that he has a great deep ball. That's one of the strengths of his game. So both guys have a really good deep ball. I think Cj Stroud is way better mechanics. Again, like I said with Anthony Richardson, when he loads up, he tends to twerk his arm a little too forward, and that leads to some inaccuracies. So I think Cj Stroud, a lot better mechanics, transfers his weight on his feet better. And there's a reason why Anthony Richardson had just above a 50% completion rate in college. It's because intermediate passes, sorry guys, intermediate passes, Anthony Richardson wasn't as good at because you have to have mechanics. You have to have touch on intermediate passes. And I think Anthony Richardson needs to work on that. He does. So I think Stroud is more of the, how would I say this? He's more of the complete prospect. The way he loads up his feet and really delivers that ball on time with accuracy is a strength of his. Has a good deep ball. Both quarterbacks have really good deep balls. So as a good deep ball, Cj Stroud, I think Cj Stroud is going to go to the Indianapolis Colts at number 4. So I think it's going to be Bryce Young to the Texans at 2, Indianapolis at 4. I mean, that's just the reality of it. I think Cj Stroud, a lot of teams are looking for, and I won't spend too much longer on this, but a lot of teams are looking for, a more finished product. Cj Stroud has started, I believe, 3 years at Ohio State. And I mean, his completion rate has been good every year. It's just, I don't know. I think there's a lot of things to like about Cj Stroud that maybe Richardson doesn't have. And again, I look at the film against Georgia. Cj Stroud versus Georgia went 23. Now, keep in mind, Georgia is a back-to-back national champion. So they're good. They have the best team in the nation in college football. And every year, Georgia's sending NFL-level talent, like NFL-level prospects to the draft. So if you're if you're a person and you're scouting different NFL quarterbacks, you want to see how they did against, if they played Georgia. You want to see how they did against Georgia. And Cj Stroud, obviously in the semifinals of the NCAA playoffs, or of the college football playoffs, did great against Georgia. 23 for 34, 348 yards, 4 TDs. You watch him in that game, the ball came out on time. He was getting the ball out quick. And when he did have time, he was dicing up that Georgia defense. And he was not the reason why Ohio State lost. If you guys remember, the Ohio State kicker missed a kick at the end of the game to lose Ohio State the game, which it would have won them that game. So they ended up losing that game, but Cj Stroud played almost perfect. Went over, I think 70% completion rate. So Cj Stroud, again, in the biggest moments, has performed, has the arm accuracy. I think Indianapolis Colts take him at 4. Now, with Anthony Richardson, it's a different story. I think you have, so after that, you have Seattle, Detroit, Las Vegas Raiders, Falcons, and Carolina Panthers. I think if you're the Seattle Seahawks and you're the Detroit Lions, both of those teams are looking to trade out of the 5th and 6th pick. Here's my reasoning for it, okay? Seattle, I think it's in their best interest right now to get as many picks as possible. And let's say both Carolina and the Atlanta Falcons are at pick number 8, Carolina is at pick number 9, and Seattle's at pick number 5. They both want to trade up to Seattle's pick because they both Atlanta and the Panthers are afraid that either Detroit, the Las Vegas Raiders, or the Atlanta Falcons or the Carolina Panthers are going to pick the quarterback that they want. So I think if you're Seattle, you are going to trade out of that number 5 pick. You're going to trade down. And right now, let's assume that they re-sign Geno Smith. It's not that urgent to get a quarterback right now. So unless you direly need a quarterback at pick number 5, I think the Seahawks trade down. And both the Carolina Panthers and the Atlanta Falcons, we know, are going to be looking to trade up to get a quarterback because they both are quarterback needy. So I think it's going to be a bidding war. And I think the Seattle Seahawks have a lot of potential to get a lot of picks by trading down in this draft. So without further ado, I think Anthony Richardson does go to the Carolina Panthers. Here's my reasoning for that. The Falcons have the second most cap space in the NFL behind the Bears. And so I think the Falcons are going to be looking more to get a quarterback through free agency, more like a guy like Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers, guys like that, okay? The Panthers have the 22nd most, they have the 22nd most free agency cap space, which is terrible. The Panthers are actually over the cap. Basically, over the cap means that you don't have any money to spend and you actually need to get rid of some players to make some money happen. Like, the Panthers do not have any money, so they can't go get a quarterback in free agency. So their only option is to draft one in the NFL draft. And so I think if you're the Carolina Panthers, you trade up to that Seattle Seahawks number 5 pick and you get Anthony Richardson. So I think it's Texans at number 2, they get Bryce Young. I think at number 4, the Colts get Cj Stroud. Not only is Cj Stroud, Cj Stroud is literally from Ohio, which is the same place as Indianapolis. So, he's a hometown dude. So I think Anthony, so Cj Stroud to Indianapolis, and then I think Anthony Richardson, the next pick, to the Carolina Panthers at pick number 5. So yeah, those are those two guys. Let's get to Will Levis, though. This guy, to me, he had a good combine. His throws were, I mean, he has a good arm, but there are some limitations and weaknesses to Levis's game. And in college, the one thing that I didn't really like a whole lot about what Levis brought to the table. Obviously, Will Levis is from Kentucky. He started 2 years at Kentucky, but didn't really protect the ball. Like a lot of these guys, if you look, Cj Stroud had very few interceptions in college. Bryce Young, very few interceptions. Will Levis, on the other hand, last year he had 10 interceptions, and the year before he had 13 interceptions over the 2 years that he started. So, I mean, he's kind of the biggest hit or miss. Now, you've probably heard this from a lot of analysts around the league. He is the biggest hit or miss quarterback in the draft because he has the talent to be a top quarterback in the NFL. He has the arm strength. He has not necessarily, I wouldn't say the accuracy because he can be accurate sometimes. But on the other hand, I watch Will Levis's tape, and it's like once in a while, the biggest knock I have on him is he's kind of a tunnel vision type player where Will Levis will try to make too much happen on one play. So this particular play was against Georgia when they played them. And he was under pressure, instead of taking the check down option, he wants to go downfield and he can't find that downfield option. And so instead of going downfield or taking the check down option or throwing it away, he just runs for it. And so, and that leads to him getting a concussion, Will Levis. So my biggest knock on him is he's more of like he's a player that will like look for the big play too often, even though it's not there. And so sometimes, here's the knock that I have on a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL. Sometimes quarterbacks in the NFL don't take the check down option when they really should. And I think that's the biggest problem with Will Levis. Again, the intangibles are there, but I think this guy is going to drop simply because he's going to drop in the NFL draft simply because I don't think that as a football team, you're kind of scared away by how many interceptions he's thrown in his career. But he's 6'3". So I think 6'3", I mean, he has good height, and he has an arm. So I think that's my my biggest knocks on him. But to who will get Will Levis? My question to that is, my answer to that is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think he's going to drop Will Levis, but I would say like if Will Levis went to the draft last year, he probably would have been like a second round pick, right? But this year, since there's so many more QB needy teams that are going to go and find quarterbacks through the draft, because a lot of these QB needy teams don't have enough cap space to get one through free agency. So I think Will Levis is going to go to Tampa Bay. I think, Tampa Bay is a true rebuild team. They're in cap hell, as we say it. They're in cap hell. I think at this point, they pick at the 19th pick. So I think at this point, if you're the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you're looking for a guy who can fill in for Tom Brady, you're looking to start from scratch. And what better to do that with a rookie quarterback? So Will Levis, I think, is going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Really a hit or miss prospect because he doesn't take care of the ball. But this combine that he had today was really, 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 really good. Yeah, I liked his combine today. So that's where I think he'll go. I think he'll go with Tampa. And yeah, let's get to, the fifth quarterback. I'm just trying to look at my notes here because I don't want to miss anything. Hendon Hooker from Tennessee. This guy was a Heisman Trophy winner the first 2 months before he tore his ACL. He didn't attend the combine because he tore his ACL in November. And so not really fit to play. He could be playing on crutches. Hendon Hooker's out there and he's just like, he's on one crutch and he's like, let me at him, coach. And he just, one crutch, one leg. He's just throwing on one leg. But no, in all seriousness, he couldn't throw today because he obviously is rehabbing from an ACL tear. But the news came out today that he will definitely be ready for training camp this next season. So for all the scouts from NFL teams that are looking at Hendon Hooker will be available for a training camp. I think the main thing with Hendon Hooker is he takes care of the ball really well. This guy I'm trying to look at his pick numbers. This guy had 2 interceptions in 2022 and 3 in 2021. He started a little less than 2 seasons, which is pretty good for a quarterback. So started a little less than 2 seasons. Got some experience at the biggest level because, again, Tennessee is in the SEC. So had experience at the biggest level, started a lot of games. And frankly, I think this is another really intriguing prospect because Anthony Richardson, I think, is a really intriguing prospect because he's a guy that just doesn't have development, but he has all the intangibles. I think Hendon Hooker is very similar in a way. I think he's going to be, one of the not many quarterbacks, but he's going to be the quarterback that teams are afraid to pick in the first round because he had that injury, ACL injury, and they haven't seen him play yet. But he's very intriguing. He has dual threat ability. He has an arm to go downfield. And at times, when I look at the tape, at times, he shows accuracy at all 3 levels: downfield, intermediate, and short passes. So accurate, has a dual threat ability to run, is mobile, played at the highest level in college football. And to me, this is why he's the most intriguing quarterback, because I think the Seahawks have 2 picks in the first round. I don't think they're going to pick a quarterback at either of those picks. Now, I think free agency is going to do a lot, is going to tell us a lot. So that's why, my opinion might change in a few weeks of all of these quarterbacks. Because depending on what happens in free agency, it could be a lot different in a few weeks, my overview of these quarterbacks. But right now, as it stands, the reason why I'm saying this is the Seahawks might, I'm assuming that the Seahawks will re-sign Geno. But what if they don't re-sign Geno? In that case, I think the Seahawks, if they don't re-sign Geno, do take a quarterback at pick number 5. But let's just say that they do. I think they will re-sign Geno. I think there are a lot of teams in the second round that aren't going to draft a quarterback in the first round, because I think the 2 teams that I think won't draft a quarterback necessarily in the first round are the Lions and the Seahawks. And I think both of those teams are going to be looking to draft a second round quarterback. I think Hendon Hooker although his injuries are a problem, I think Hendon Hooker is the type of guy that he has all the intangibles to play at the next level. It's just his injury history and his age. My biggest thing and a lot of people's biggest knocks on him are he's 26 and he has had a very bad injury history. So I think if you're a team picking the second round, I mean, this is a guy that could be your franchise quarterback one day. He just has had a lot of things standing in his way. So, you know what? I'm going to say, let's name the teams that could all be in contention for Hendon Hooker in the second round. There's a lot of teams in the beginning of the second round. First team is the Rams, pick number 36. Texans, pick number 33. Seattle, pick number 37. New Orleans, pick number 40. Titans, pick number 41. I think the Titans could be in the running for a quarterback in the second round as well. Even though they already have Malik Willis, I think the Titans still, I think maybe could draft a second or third round quarterback to compete with Malik Willis, because right now their quarterback situation is not very good. They're not bringing back Ryan Tannehill. So they basically have Malik Willis, and that's it. So they could be, Titans could be at pick number 41, could be in the running for Hendon Hooker. But I think Hendon Hooker overall will be going to there's so many teams in the running for him, but overall, I think Hendon Hooker an intriguing team that I think we're all overlooking here. And I think he's probably going to go to this team, but we're all like, I did not see this team coming, but I think he's going to go to the Rams at pick number 36. For one, I think Seattle has, obviously Seattle has one pick lower than the Rams. They have pick number 37. Rams have pick number 36. How many years does Matthew Stafford for the Rams actually have left? Really, like 1 or 2, maybe? So if you're the Rams, you pick this guy to kind of sit behind Matthew Stafford. You pick him to get healthy. And in a few years, he starts for you. I think that's a perfect scenario. So I think the Rams are huge in the running for him. But I also think if the Seahawks do end up trading down in the first round, they are going to have a lot of pick compensation that they can use in the second round to trade up with. And that's why I think Seattle will probably trade up from pick number 37 to earlier in the second round to get Hendon Hooker, because I think they do want a quarterback in this year's draft. But they're kind of in a tough spot. Now, maybe they wait until next year and they get Caleb Williams, or the quarterback draft class next year is good as well. So maybe they wait until next year, but I'm just saying that they could be them and the Rams could be a main contender for Hendon Hooker. So yeah, those are my top 5 quarterbacks. Where they will go: Bryce Young is going to the Texans. Anthony Richardson. Well, I'm sorry. Cj Stroud is going to the Colts. Anthony Richardson to the Panthers. One more thing about Anthony Richardson. He is the most intriguing prospect in this year's draft. But I think the coach that could do the most and get the most out of Anthony Richardson is Frank Reich of the Panthers. Head coach of the Panthers. I think when Frank Reich was there, Carson Wentz was a really good quarterback. I don't think it was really Frank Reich's fault that that Carson Wentz fell off. So I think you pair Anthony Richardson with Frank Reich. I think that's a great pairing. Plus, I also think that the Panthers obviously are in cap hell. And so I think they kind of have to pick a quarterback in this year's draft. And I think that quarterback is Anthony Richardson. And then Will Levis, I think, is going to Tampa, and Hendon Hooker to either the Rams or the Seattle Seahawks. Could be Tennessee as well. So, and shout out to Hendon Hooker, because Hendon Hooker, his stock fell a lot. He was a Heisman Trophy candidate and was projected to go in the top 15, and now he's a second-round pick. But there are going to be a lot of suitors for Hendon Hooker. A lot. So, we'll see. Now, this is a very intriguing draft for quarterbacks, because I think there are a lot of teams, like I said earlier, in the top 15 that are quarterback needy. So it could be a very action-packed first round top 15. So, guys, I'll get out of your hair. I'll probably have another guest on that knows a little bit more about the draft than me on maybe next week to kind of break down the combine and the draft. There are a lot of guys. Let me quickly go through some standouts real quick. The guy from Michigan, cornerback from Michigan. This guy ran a 4.26 in the combine. His name is, DJ Turner. Now, this guy last year, when targeted, only gave up a 60 quarterback rating to quarterbacks when targeted. That's really good. Gave up like a 30% completion rate to quarterbacks when targeted. So, DJ Turner from Michigan, cornerback from Michigan. 4.26, 5'11" cornerback, and is really, really good, DJ Turner. His stock went from being a mid day 2 pick to probably an early day 2 pick. DJ Turner, cornerback from Michigan. So he was a standout. Almost broke John Ross's record. And then another guy that I really liked was the defensive tackle from South Carolina. His stock went up a lot. I'm trying to look him up. I have him in my sorry guys. I have him in my notes right here. Let's see. Let's see. Here we go. I have so his name is Zach Pickens, defensive tackle from South Carolina. He ran, I mean, if you watch him at the combine, Zach Pickens from South Carolina, you watch this guy at the combine, my Lord, he is a insanely athletic tackle. This guy ran a 5 flat 40 time at the combine, which is really good for a defensive tackle. He's also 310 pounds. So he's big, he's lengthy, he's fast, and he was projected to be a day 3 pick, and now he's projected end of the day 2. So I think if you're a 49ers fan, watch out for Zach. Zach Pickens. Watch out for him because he's 6'4", 305 pounds. And let me look up his official 40 time because I'm not actually sure completely. Yeah, it was a 5 flat. So yeah, fast, athletic. If you're a 49ers fan, I'd hope the 49ers would go after a defensive tackle like him. Zach Pickens. Look him up. South Carolina. But yeah, as the weeks go on, I should be, breaking down a lot more prospects in the draft. So I'll probably be making once a week a draft video on some of the top prospects. Another guy, Nolan Smith from Georgia. Wow. That guy is Hassan Reddick draft comps all the way. Ran an incredible 40 time. Wow. Look up Nolan Smith, defensive end from Georgia. His stock went from late first round to now probably a top 15 pick. So, but real quick, things to come. So in the coming weeks, I'll probably have more combine cover. More draft coverage, and definitely a lot more. So more draft coverage. I should have 49ers news coming out for you guys. So that should be a lot of fun. And then obviously free agency is coming up. I'll be covering that as well. So again, it's tough because the combine, it's unless you're really closely watching, it's really hard to scout players at the combine, except quarterbacks. It's pretty easy to scout quarterbacks at the combine. So I'll continue to get into some more prospects, not only from the 49ers that the 49ers could get, but also prospects that other teams could get. And then also in the coming weeks, I will be putting out my first top 15 mock draft. And then right before the draft, I'll have my top 15 mock draft 2.0. So guys, this has been a fun night. If anyone wants to call in, link is in the description. And then obviously you can also call in from my number. So doesn't matter there, but yeah, should be a lot of fun as the coming weeks go by. Like I said, as the weeks go by, I will be breaking down some more draft prospects. Should be a lot of fun. Yeah, guys, have a very, 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 very good week. I will be having a good week. And we'll see you guys later. Good night, everyone. Should be a fun draft. Fun draft. Watch the combine, everyone. Go Niners. Let's go.